Mic check, 1 2 1 2. Have you guys been hearing me? Have you been hearing me? Have you been hearing me? All right, put a 1 in the chat if you can hear me, ladies and gentlemen. Put a 1 in the chat. I've been talking for the last 10 minutes. I thought I was in the room. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, waiting for the judge to take the bench. Good morning, everyone. Shout out to my mods. Make sure you're on high alert. I also want to thank the mods for coming in last night. But we got another big live today. Make sure you guys your notifications are on. We had a lot of trolls in the comment section yesterday. You know, we talking about a hot topic as it relates to the former president of the United States and Bonnie Willis. But the comments were going crazy yesterday. Don't get caught up in the story so much that you miss the trolls trolling. With that said, thank you, mods. Thank you, mods. We got 3 people modded up in here. We got 2 more mods we're going to be picking today. So yeah, it's going down. Me and myself and Attorney Thelma Anderson will be on another hot topic involving one of Hollywood's favorite celebrities. We can't say who it is yet. We can't let the competition know who we coming in with, but it's going down. I gotta play this elevator music. Last time they flagged my music. I gotta play the elevator music. This music won't be flagged. They be trying to get in my pockets. We ain't letting them do it. And for those who have been asking, I did release the second installment of the Nesto Ernest Williams bond hearing. I think we only left a few minutes out in the last one. That's why we re-released it. But I definitely released it. You might have missed it, but I did. Yes, shout out to Pocket Watch, the lead attorney. They pulled up yesterday. A lot of people pulled up yesterday. I mean, come on, it was going down. I mean, you know, it's going. Listen, in the next couple of days, it's going to be crazy in these Fulton County streets, as Judge Scott McAfee has to give a decision as to whether or not he's going to disqualify District Attorney Bonnie Willis, which I don't think is going to happen. But I've been wrong before. But I don't know, the likelihood of that happening is slim to none. And a lot of the MAGA folks are not happy about the commentary. But if you read the tea leaves are saying otherwise. So we have to see. Okay, as far as the Diddy coverage, there were no cameras allowed in the courtroom. So I was actually in the courtroom. There was no cameras allowed. New York doesn't really, back then, they weren't allowing any cameras in the courtroom. It's just only been recent in the last couple of years that they started allowing cameras in the courtroom. But when Puffy and Sean was on trial, there were no cameras in the courtroom. You had to come in, take copious notes. They weren't letting electronic devices in. There was none of that. It's old school journalism. You had to write your notes down, and you had to be able to do your recap after the court. So there's no footage for that. I just think more courts should allow cameras in, but there are people that have watched my coverage. It was actually a write-up in one of the publications, and this is when the internet was interneting. This is when you had to put in magazines and newspaper articles. So we have come a long way in our coverage of the news. Everything's more electronic. You can get your news right on your smartphone. So it's different. It's different. But I've covered a lot of cases with cameras. I think I have more. I don't think I know. I own more courtroom coverage footage as an independent journalist than anyone independent in the African American community in the United States. Do your research, because I've been doing this a long time, and I own the footage in the United States. That's pretty big. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to reach out to the attorney, see what is the delay. I'm going to reach out to Austin Chuong's the attorney and see what's the delay, and get back to you in a few minutes. Stand by. All right, ladies and gentlemen. 1 second. Let me get this out my face. Let me get this out my face. Here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. We've been waiting for the judge to take the bench. He hasn't taken the bench yet. So I'm considering ending the live and coming back once the judge is actually in the courtroom. Uh, can't get anyone in the chambers. This was a scheduled standby. Hold on. Ladies and gentlemen, we have activity. Stand by, stand by, stand by. I think we're going in the courtroom right now. Stand by, stand by. Here we go. Here we go. Stand by, guys.
And the state goes first, and they also have the right to rebuttal as well, which means they can go last. All right, and so I'll turn it over to Ms. Willingham for any argument or evidence you'd like to introduce for sentencing.
Yes, Judge. As Your Honor has mentioned, at this time, the state will be asking for the max. We did acknowledge that at the conclusion of the hearing on Wednesday, which the maximum sentence in this case would be 86 years. We are asking for 20 years as to count 3. And that count stands alone. We are asking for 20 years as to count 4, and that count merges into count, sorry, I want to make sure I get this one correct. Count 4 merges into count 6, and we are asking for 20 years as to that. We are also asking, Your Honor, for 20 years as to count 5, which is a count that stands alone. We're also asking for 20 years as to count 7, which merge as to count 8, as count 7 merges into count 8. We would be asking for 12 months as to count 9, and as to count 10, we would be asking for a sentence of 5 years, and that would be consecutive to all other counts in the indictment. Your Honor has had an opportunity to hear quite a bit of the evidence in this case. The state still stands by that the defendant, although during trial it did come out a bit, I know the defendant mentioned that he believed that someone else was responsible for this. Your Honor, there were 4 people in that home. The defendant is the only person that walked out with just small, minor cuts that were on his finger, which, as the court heard, Detective Bachniak testified that those cuts are consistent with someone who is stabbing or using that knife, and the knife begins to slip through their hand after it is soaked with blood. So, Your Honor, we stand by that the defendant is the person who beat his brother with a bat, which he already admitted to that charge. He entered a plea to that charge before we began trial. He subsequently went and left that room with his father, who he then stabbed.
Let's make this clear for the record. We did not get to hear the testimony of the brother or the mother, but at this phase, I think the state would be able to proffer, I believe it's theory of the case. And so I'd like to hear from you what you believe the exact sequence of events was that evening and why you believe that.
Yes, Judge. What we believe is that at around 4:50 a.m., the defendant entered into his brother's room, which, judging that part, would not necessarily be a belief, as the defendant has stated himself that he went and he did go into his brother's room that night. What we believe is that the defendant then began beating his brother Eric with a bat while Eric was sleeping. Eric then woke up out of his sleep as the defendant continued to beat him with a bat, only stopping because his father and mother, Andrew and Jenny, came into the room and they were able to get the defendant off of Eric. Once they were able to get the defendant off of Eric, they separated them. Eric went into the restroom to get himself cleaned up, and Jenny left the home and went outside to the car to try and get the car ready to go so that she could take Eric to the hospital. That is also corroborated, Your Honor, by the body cam that we saw. When officers arrived, that vehicle was outside with that car door open, and as Officer Delafiana testified, that vehicle was running when they got to the home, which corroborates exactly what both Eric and Jenny told law enforcement, which is that Jenny left the home so that she could take Eric to the hospital. She realized that Eric was taking a long time, so she went back into the home. It is our belief that during that time, Eric was still in the bathroom getting himself together. He did acknowledge when speaking with law enforcement, Eric stated that he was kind of out of it because he had been hit with the bat so many times. So he did not hear anything that was going on in the kitchen. But what Jenny came into was the defendant being on top of Andrew Chuong, the defendant's father, stabbing him. Jenny then proceeded to try and pull the defendant off of his father, at which time the defendant then stabbed her. She then yelled for Eric to come out to help. At that time, Eric came out of the restroom. He began to try and get the defendant off of both Andrew and Jenny, at which time the defendant then also sliced him. I will not say stab, because that wound was not nearly as severe, but it was a cut still with that knife. And Your Honor, at that time, Jenny was then able to make it to the bathroom after Eric was able to hide the knife in the bathroom, and Jenny then ran into the bathroom, and Eric was trying to kind of get himself still cleaned up. When Jenny went into the bathroom, she was able to call 911, at which time we heard the 911 call. Eric also chimed into that call, acknowledging that the person who committed this crime was the defendant, Austin Chuong. Austin then, Your Honor, left the home. He ran out back. It is our belief that he stood out behind the house where they had an ashtray, and it is our belief that he stood there and smoked a cigarette. And while he smoked that cigarette, his blood was dripping right there on the ashtray. He subsequently ran into the wood line just behind the fence of the home, where he was later found by law enforcement laying in a fetal position sleeping. However, Your Honor, it is our belief that the reason he ran into that wood line is because when law enforcement arrived, we believe that Austin was still close enough to the home that he knew law enforcement was out in the front, and his only escape would have been running back into that wood line. And that's where he stopped and was ultimately located by law enforcement. So that is, Your Honor, that is what the state would submit to the court are the facts of this case. I do recognize that the court did not have an opportunity during the trial to hear from Eric and Jenny. Your Honor, however, I would acknowledge that based on the family dynamic, this is still Jenny's son. It is still Eric's brother. And as the court did have an opportunity to hear back when we did the Jackson Deno hearing and the subsequent bond motion, I think the bond motion was it was the same day as that hearing. Jenny did mention at that time that this was her son, and this was a hard situation for her. She wanted her son to be home. It is not lost on me, Your Honor, that Austin still remains her son, regardless of what happened in this case. However, despite how Jenny or Eric may have not wanted to participate in this case, we would still submit that Austin's father, Andrew, is still deceased. Eric was still beaten to the back. He subsequently lost 3 teeth from this incident, and Jenny was still stabbed in her chest. So this is a very heinous set of facts, and for that reason, we would be asking for the maximum sentence. And Your Honor, as mentioned, Austin is only charged. The only charges left on this indictment in reference to Andrew is Andrew's stab wounds. And although no, we are not here for the sentencing of a murder or the felony murder or even a voluntary. However, that stab wound is ultimately what it leads to done. So for those reasons, we would be asking for the maximum sentence. We do acknowledge that the defendant has a very minor criminal history. I believe it's only a possession of marijuana that was a pending misdemeanor case. at the
Right.
time.
So it's just because it's pending, so there's really no criminal history that I can actually consider.
Is no criminal history in this case. But based on the seriousness of the charges, based on the events that played out in the home on April 6th of 2020, the state would ask for the maximum sentence.
Well, I don't think the
And
judge
do you
will give him the
have
maximum.
any witnesses to present? And even if they're obviously they're not here, but at any point during while the 3 years this case has been pending, had you heard from Jenny Fang or Eric, the brother, about what they wanted to have happen in this case?
I've never had the opportunity to speak with Jenny. I have spoken with Eric, and Eric's exact words to me were that he did not want to go against his mother. He did not care what happened to his brother, but he did not want to go against his mother. And for that reason, they never really gave us an answer, as to how they wished for this case to proceed. I have had the opportunity to speak with Mr. Jim Chuong, who is Andrew Chuong's brother. And the initial offer from the defense was a 10-year offer. Mr. Chuong was okay with that. I explained to him at that time that based on the set of facts, that we did not believe that that was a fair resolution, and he left it to the state to be able to proceed forward how we needed to. So, Your Honor, at this time, I don't have a definitive answer for the court as to what the family is asking.
Ah, boy, this is going to be hard for this judge.
They have not been active in participating. But again, it is not lost on me, the family dynamics in this case. I did speak with Mr. Chung before we started today, and he did not, he was fine not speaking. He didn't necessarily have anything that he wanted to say. I asked him specifically if he did want to speak, and he said he was just here to do whatever was.
All right. Is that right, Mr. Chung? Okay, I see that he's nodding his head. So, Ms. Willingham, is there any other argument or evidence the state would like to present? All right, Mr. Chung, this is your opportunity to say anything and everything you'd like me to consider. And if you could pull the microphone close to you.
About my character. Okay. Hello, Judge McAfee. I'm speaking in regard to why you should consider and accept my plea for first offender, a low sentence, or a low split probation sentence because I didn't kill my father. I'm a good person. I'm not a violent, nor am I a very confrontational person. I don't get into trouble. In fact, it's the complete opposite. I always try to be a good person, as my father's always taught me. I've always tried to learn from him how he's lived his life and how I can be more like him. He sacrifices a lot for his family and everyone in it, which is what I tried to do my whole life ever since
Wait
I
a
was old
minute.
enough to
This
understand.
guy's not even taking
I believe
responsibility.
family should always have your back no matter what the situation, blood or not blood, because family can mean friends too.
He's very tall.
I've gotten to know so many different people in my experience in jail, and while it took me a little while to understand it, I believe this experience changed me for the better. I was a spoiled kid when I was 16, 17, 18. My father always gave me whatever I wanted. I was babied, but I mean, that's why I love him so much. I didn't want to grow up, I let Eric do the chores around the house because, I was lazy, but now that I've sat in jail, I've learned how good I really had it. And that it was a privilege, I know. I know what I did to Eric, and I feel terrible for it but I didn't kill my dad, and nor did I hurt my mom. I apologize to him, to God, and to my family for what I did. It was not in my character. I was just mad at how he treated my father and mother, and I let my anger control me. I love my father, I love my brother, and I love Eric. And I built that tree house that you guys saw in the backyard with him. I mean, it took weeks. That's when I learned how to use tools for the first time. We waited in those huge Black Friday lines to buy that trampoline in our backyard. I remember we hid it behind, a stack of toilet paper the previous day on Black Friday. I used to help him and my mom farm in the back. That's how I learned to really grow things and nurture things. My parents bought dogs for me because I like to take care of things.
killed the
Dogs are like
father?
babies, they only know as much as you teach them. You know, all my dogs loved me, and I remember when I buried my first dog, you know, I used to talk to him at his grave every single day. I used to follow me around, but, you know, not getting carried away. It's just, I mean, I did everything with my father. You know, I drove him to work, helped him. You know, we sat at the campfire every night just talking about things. You know, I don't know what happened, you know, that day. I don't know why I did that to Eric. I'm usually so grounded, and I always think things through first, but I do know it will never happen again. I was just young, and really
Well, you
stupid.
won't. Your father's dead.
But I've grown up now. You know, I'm not the same kid I was. You know, I'm 23. I've changed. Well, I always told myself I wouldn't let jail change me. I think I changed me for the better. You know, I'm no longer lazy like I was. I don't take things for granted anymore. You know, I want to get out so I can make something of my life now. I don't, you know, I don't want my 20s and 30s thrown away.
That
And I
ship
sat in
left
jail
already,
trying to learn
sir.
everything I
That ship
can
left
for
already.
when I get out. So I can't say I wasted my time in here. And I learned little bits of Spanish from the, you know, Latinos in here. I learned how to really design and sew clothes.
Well, you're
in
gonna be
here.
with the Latino
And I
gang.
started with a bread tie that I twisted around to create a needle. Now I can sew bucket hats, jackets, pockets, you know, sweatpants, all type of things right now. Now I even tried learning Mandarin on the tablets because I already know Cantonese. It's just, I'm not too great at Mandarin. But I gave up because it was hard learning because my mom on the phone was my only teacher. And, you know, it kind of costs money to pay on the phone. And, you know, but, yeah, it's hard to describe my character because I truly believe character is really shown in your actions, not your words. And my
Yeah, you
actions
killed your
show my
father.
character, and you don't know who I truly am. You just know what mistakes I've made, and that does not reflect who I truly am.
Your
That
mistakes
isn't
tell
who I
something
am.
about who you are.
No. So maybe I'll just go on and tell you what I want to do in life so you can understand why I want this first offender and low sentence and hopefully a probation sentence, because
That's not happening.
I just want to help people in life.
Nah.
No, it gives me true joy when I help people. It's why I want to become a nurse. It makes me feel good inside.
I don't want you near
You know,
no
I want to save
scalpels.
lives. That's why I was studying nursing at Kennesaw. It has one of the best programs in Georgia. That's why I chose that school. I was in my second year getting good grades, on track with my program with my cousin, who is 1 year younger than me. We're trying to be nurses together.
Oh my goodness. Classic psychopath. All that tear stuff ain't gonna work with this judge. Come on. Keep it going.
And I just want to continue that when I get out. I wanted to turn that career or turn that degree into a career.
You didn't admit you killed
My
your
plan
dad.
was to join the army and become a flight medic or a pararescue jumper. You know, the people who rappel down and save you.
Did Eric do it?
It's a huge dream of mine.
I don't think so.
And I wanted to be on the helicopters and be the reason why he made it to the hospital or be the reason why she's still breathing. I was
What?
gonna come out of the army and get a job at the hospital on the helicopters at the helipads. And then
You
I
ain't
was
getting
gonna
no helicopter, bro.
help my
Player.
parents in their real estate business on the side if they needed help. But I feel like my life was meant to be something great. I've
Boy.
had too many heroes and life experiences for me not to just be nothing.
Well, you made nothing decisions.
No, I don't feel like I'm a waste of a life. And I don't want to waste my life away in a facility. I don't think it's right. You know, my father died protecting me that day. And remembering his life has taught me how much you can do for a person.
His
He
father
worked
died
from 9
protecting him
a.m. to
that
10
day.
p.m. every day, but Sundays. And in hot attics and in the cold outside, sweating, shivering, and never complained. I know this because I was there helping him. I was here behind him, holding the flashlight. I even bought him a headlamp once, and he joked about it, saying he didn't want it because he wanted me there. That's why he didn't want to use it. He just wanted his son there. I would carry his tools back and forth from the car, you know, to the units. I know every weird name the tools he had because he didn't know the English ones. Like he used to call this hammer a thup thup.
And you did a
It's because
on
that's
your
the
dad,
sound it made.
allegedly.
He's just the perfect dad, and I hope I can make my son feel the same way about me that I did about him.
Nah, you not. That's not happening.
I just want to be something in life for him and my mom. I want to make them proud. I want to finish school. I want them to be able to brag about me with their friends. I want my dad in heaven
Ain't nobody bragging about you, sir.
to smile when he sees what I'm doing.
No, that's not happening. That's not happening.
I don't want to waste my life away like some people I see in jail. I don't use drugs, nor do I drink. And if you do grant me a low sentence, will now allow me to make them proud. I promise to you that you'll see what I can become. And I hope in a few years,
I'm better than
I can write to you a letter and tell you everything that's going on in my life. And you'll smile because I'll remember this moment. It's going to be one that I'm going to look back on for the rest of my life because
Oh, you really are.
there's still good in the world. Hope isn't, for nothing. Oh, shit. I promised myself and my father and my mom that I'll be the best person I can be. I've written letters to my future self in 5 years, 10 years, telling myself to keep to this. I just read one of them last month that I wrote to myself 3 years ago to never forget my dad and what I promised him.
Vanderveer, you too much now.
I told myself I'll try to be just like him. I'm a big family person. If you just ask any of my family members, they'll tell you the same. Jim back there, Gene, my cousin, my mom, my brother, Nikki, Ryan. I'm a quiet, loving, caring, and all around good person.
Boy, you hit your brother in the head with a baseball bat.
I remember they told the police all this in their interviews. They said it was such a surprise that this happened. And it is. It's not in my character.
Man, if
I
I,
like
did
to
that
smile a lot,
in my youth, my mama would have kicked me
I do
from
worry
here
a lot,
to
but I
the
think it's just
next
how I
neighborhood.
cope with things. That's why I smile. But I overthink a lot of things, and I even have, sometimes I get anxiety attacks because I worry too much. But my girlfriend used to tell me about this. I'm getting kind of off track, but I'm kind of
on
writing.
track. And the judge is
I
thinking
wrote
about lunch
this
right
kind of
now.
like a mind dump. I've noticed that it's just really everything that I'm feeling. When I think about the future. But I feel like this is the best way you can see into my mind, and the best way I can convey to you who I am. Because I can't show you my actions right now. I would like first offender so I can
evidence?
pursue my dreams, Your Honor. I've already planned out the military aspect of it. I know a recruiter who will waive your felony so
Military.
you can
Boy,
join
you
the
crazy.
service. He's supposed to be all over recruiting over all the surrounding 3 states, Georgia, Alabama, and Tennessee. He's a friend of one of my close personal friends. His name's Rick. My dream is to become an EMT on a helicopter, but if I couldn't
you
have that, I
dreaming.
would just continue to be a flight medic in the Army.
No.
But,
no knives.
I want to be able to help my mother at home. She's alone right now, every day, in an empty house.
Because of you.
Spending all of her days alone, holidays. I call her every week, and it breaks my heart knowing.
Huh? What?
Knowing that no one's around her. Dog. Just a few months ago, my own dog died, and she would.
Your dad died.
She cried telling me about it.
So who you saying killed your father?
I know she saw that dog as an extension of me because she was always at my ankles whenever I went anywhere.
What the?
In the house,
talking about?
It makes me really cry at night when I sit thinking about her in that house.
I don't want you.
She doesn't deserve that. She doesn't deserve. She deserves to have people around her, family around her that loved her or that love her. Eric already moved out, so I'm, all that's left that wants to do it. I wanted to take her traveling and have her live with me if I ever went overseas in the military. She'd always talk about traveling when I was little,
Playboy,
but my dad would never
your
let her.
military's in that jail.
She want to go to London, Thailand, Europe, Japan. She would always smile when she used to talk about it.
Goodness.
Oh shit. We actually did travel once when I was 18. We went to Malaysia, to Singapore, and then to Kuala Lumpur.
You had the best.
I went to go see all the Buddhist temples in Thailand and shopped at Bangkok and all the different markets. Chatu Chat was one of them. That was the most memorable. My dad sent me and her there to show me how different the world is to the United States and how much of a privilege it is to live here.
Watch the
And I've
judge's
never seen her
hands.
happier in my life.
He's
You know,
getting,
my
he's getting
mom.
frustrated right now.
You know, my mom's life was, to my memory, spent taking care of me and caring for me. And I just want to be able to repay her now that I'm older, to take care of her for a change. She's a great woman. You know, she spent over $100,000 in legal fees trying to get me out. And we talk every week about what we both have going on during the days and what I'll do for her when I get out. And that's a big part of the reason I want a low sentence or even a split probation sentence, because
Probate, boy, you
I just
don't
want to be with
your-
her.
You
I want
better
to go see
shut
my
up
dad
right
at his
now.
grave. I
Judge, give it to him.
haven't
This is despicable.
I haven't even been there yet since he died.
Who killed your dad then? You
I
went
missed the
outside and smoked a
funeral.
cigarette.
And I'm the only person in the family who hasn't talked to him yet. And I don't feel that's right. You know, talking to him whenever I'm alone, it's not really the same as talking to him at his grave.
Boy.
You know, I promise you I'm not a bad kid. I've never been in
Those
trouble my
knife
entire
wounds
life,
says otherwise.
accepting that weed charge that Miss Willingham spoke about. You know,
I don't give a damn
I
about
used
no
to smoke in
weed.
high school, but I stopped in college so it wouldn't really distract me from my grades. No, this is just a mistake, Your Honor.
A lifelong
That's a huge,
mistake.
stupid mistake, and it doesn't
Huge.
reflect who I am.
It kind
And
of
I beg
does.
you, please give me a second chance.
Your
And
dad
I'll
didn't have
show you I
yeah.
deserve it. I'll mail you every week, giving you updates on my life.
We're
if
gonna
that's
have
what it
updates
has to
because it's gonna
take,
get a jail
but
report.
I just know that I'm gonna be a good force in the world. I know it in my heart.
I'm not convinced.
My parents did too much for me not to be. You know, my dad, he used to tell me this story of how he came to the United States. He used to tell me he was smuggled here out of Vietnam so he wouldn't be, a child soldier. You know, he came here when he was 14 and somehow made it. He named me after, he said, the first city he went to when he began his life. And after he brought his family over to California for Vietnam, all of his siblings and parents all cramped in the one house that we used to go visit every other year around Chinese New Year.
He gave you
Some of them still
everything.
live there now. No, he named me Austin because he went to Austin because he told
You
me
lived in Alpharetta, sir.
he wanted to go see cowboys because he thought cowboys at the time were, some cool thing because that's what the United States was known for. But he left
Okay, we know where Reagan was from.
Austin because he didn't get to
The
see no
Bush.
cowboys for real.
Not Reagan, the Bush.
But
Bush family.
that's why he came to Gainesville to Georgia and met my mom, who's also an immigrant trying to start a life in here because she was sending money back home, back to Malaysia to her parents. My mom also told me this when I was young.
They busted
No.
ass for you, sir.
I'm their son, and I just feel like I need to make them proud. And I wasn't even doing all that, or I wasn't even doing a lot of bad things before. I was going to school, I was
Oh,
on
man.
track, getting good grades, even though it was a little bit bumpy at the time because I had to do Zoom classes because of COVID.
We all had
I was
things
playing way too
before
many video
COVID.
games back then, and I realized now that I look back, I wasted a lot of my time on that.
Judge, you better give it to him.
I think I had over like 10,000 hours on screen time just sitting in front of the computer. And I should have been doing something productive. Like,
yeah.
I like to design and build things, and I think I got that from my dad because he's at home and he just likes to build things at home. Like, I play a lot of Minecraft, building cities, medieval
playing
cities
mind
because I
games
like
right now.
fantasy. My dad once told me he wanted me to try to be a city planner because I like playing so many building games. But
not Dubia.
I just want to do something with my life, Your Honor. I don't want to be in prison. I don't want to sound arrogant, but I don't think a prison is a place where I'll thrive.
You sound like
because
arrogant and a narcissist right
I should be able to prove to everyone what I can be. I know in my heart what I'm gonna do when I get out, and I'm not gonna waste my chance if you give me it. And however long I spend in jail, I'll be working towards my plans when I'm free. I've already planned out some of my ideas.
Those plans
I wanted to
are gonna
start
be
maybe a
changed,
clothing
sir, in a few
company.
minutes.
Named Chuong Threads. The name's kind of a work in progress, but my plan was kind of be a side hobby. I was gonna go to Goodwill and buy graphic sweaters and repurpose them into sweatpants and try to sell them. I ran it by a couple people and they said it's a good idea.
Yeah, of course.
It'd be on the urban wear side of fashion, but I started to write a medieval book called, Fall of Paragon in here. It's also a work in progress title.
Oh.
I ran out of books to read and I decided to create one. That's how I started writing that book.
Oh, nice.
It's been filling in a lot of my free time and also improving my writing speed. It helped me write this too.
Mm-hmm. To help you right
Like,
there too.
it just
Wow.
helps me get into another world and just get out of my own
Wow.
head, if that makes
It
sense.
don't really make much
Right now, the
sense.
book's like 130 pages right now. I stopped writing because of everything that's going on recently, and I had to focus on other things. But I'm gonna finish it later. I tell my mom about it all the time. But I lost the original copy due to an accident. An officer threw it away. The original was around 500 pages, but I'm rewriting it a little bit better.
Oh, you're gonna have enough time,
But
sir.
I call my mom every week and tell her about it. And we want to get it published so she can tell her friends that my son wrote a book. She has
Yeah, he
nothing to
killed my
brag to
husband
them
too.
about, and we're just waiting for the day I get out so we can be together again. She
Mm-hmm.
told me that she wants to go down to Florida with me when I get released.
Mm-hmm.
And I just really miss my family, Your Honor.
Yeah. What about
As I
Eric?
said before, I'm a really big family
What
person
about Eric? You
because
never spoke
before
about
this,
Eric.
I never spent more than 2 days away from my mom or dad.
Oh,
Barring vacations, we would always call each other and
just
bring back
bullshit.
things from one another when we came back. My dad always used to bring me home jade necklaces, jade Buddha necklaces for me. I was wearing one at the time when I got arrested. The one that he gave me, that was one of my favorite ones.
Sir, a sentence
But
ends with a period, and your
just my
period is
family and
up.
I are close. Jean, my cousin, I spend every weekend with her, and I spend time with her when she gets off work. I used to be able to mail guardian for them when they would go out with their friends when we were younger. Girls in our family aren't allowed to go out by themselves when we were young, so I would always accompany them to festivals and the fairs. They would always tell me to pretend to be the guy from another school so it wouldn't be embarrassing to them. Because who wants to have your cousin hanging out with you all the time, right?
Come on,
I even had to
wrap
go
it
to
up.
prom with them
Wrap
one
it up,
time.
Judge.
That was the suit you saw me wearing was the prom suit I wore to their prom.
The judge is checking his email
And
right
I just
now.
really miss them all, and I just want to get back to them. I don't like being surrounded by strangers and people who don't love me.
Well, you're gonna be
I
around a
just
lot
feel
of them.
alone all the time in here, and I really miss everyone.
Yeah, this is stuff you gotta think
Everyone
about.
wants me out. I call my family regularly, and they tell me
I
all
don't know if
this.
everybody
We
wants you
always
out.
reminisce.
I
My
know.
cousins tell me
I'm
about the
not comfortable
boys
with
they
you being on
have
the street.
crushes on and everything. I just beg of you to please accept my plea of a low sentence, because I don't get into trouble. I'm not that type of person. I don't believe in owning guns. I rarely have run-ins with the police. My last memory was
You a
just
knife.
like
Your choice of weapon is a knife.
not turning on my headlights or something like that and speeding at like 4 a.m. when I was driving home from my girlfriend's house.
Oh, you snitching
I
and
have strong and good morals. I believe that everyone
Oh.
has a heart and everyone wants to be a good
You stabbed your
person,
dad in his heart.
and everyone has good in them. And it's just their life experience that makes them do different.
Yeah, but
I've
you
only
had
had good
great
people in my
life.
life. My mom and my dad, my uncles, my cousins, my friends. I know I made a mistake, and that's why I'm wanting a low sentence because
Not happening.
I know I made a mistake. That's
judge is
why I
not doing
want
his
a
career
low
with you.
sentence, because
For his career
if
with you.
that's what you feel is best, I understand. But please believe I'm a good person. I would
What?
never do anything evil in my life. I believe in karma for real.
Well,
I
your
don't
karma
want to
is
be
not
around,
sure.
these people anymore. They all look at me like a target because, my hand is broken and I'm not in no gang, and I refuse to join a gang because I don't believe, that just puts you into more violence.
Oh, you want to
They
click
look at
up in
me like
jail.
I'm little, and that's why they always look at me like a target.
Yeah, you are a
And
target.
I'm asking you to sentence me to, 25 years, 30 years probation and serve 5 to 10 years in jail. All the charges ran concurrent with first offenders, so my
Can't do it.
record's clean, so I can do what I want to do in my life to help people. I want to be in the medical field.
I don't
I
want
wish
you
you could
around no
just
scalpels.
see into my heart and see what I feel, because I'm not an evil person. I'm not malicious. I'm a good person.
Those acts
I
were
just wish there was a
evil.
way you could see that,
Baseball
or that I
batting
could
your
prove
brother,
to you, but I can only
stabbing your
say it.
mother.
And I don't feel like that's enough. I don't feel like I'm expressing myself as best as I
Now
can.
you actually are.
But that's why I'm saying so much.
You're saying
And I'm
too
sorry
much.
if it's lengthy, but I just don't know how else to show you who I am. And I only have words right now
Yeah,
to
words.
show it.
It's not action. It's just
I
words.
can only show you once you grant me a second chance. And I'll do good, Mr. McAfee. I promise you that I will. I don't believe I'm a person
McAfee.
who
It's
should spend years in
McAfee.
prison. I don't even know how to survive around these people in this environment. I'm
Oh,
not violent, nor I do
sucks
know
to be
how to
you.
really defend myself properly. I've been stabbed 3 times in the shoulder when people tried to extort me in here and rob me. I had to be moved over 4 times because of all these situations. People really tried to There's a situation where someone tried to rape me once, and I had to tell the police, and I
What?
was afraid that I got labeled a snitch, and then I'd have a bad
Oh.
rap in the jail and everything like that. That's why I got moved to Alpharetta. But I've been jumped in here by a bunch of gang members, and I've seen someone get stabbed over 30 times and thrown in the shower once.
Mm.
And it took the police 10 minutes to get there, and nothing happened to the people who stabbed them.
No, that's
No.
jail life.
I really fear for my life in here. I fear for my
How
safety.
do you
I could
think your
really
dad felt
die
as
in
you were
here, I
bludgeoning
believe.
him,
Like,
stabbing him?
people target me because I refuse to join gangs, and because of my hand, and because I'm little, and I just don't want to be in here. I can't keep faking that I'm tough because I'm really not.
Well, we know you're not tough because those acts were acts of a coward.
How my mom taught me to deal with problems is to walk away. But this isn't a situation or an environment where you can just walk away.
No,
You know,
that's usually
that's even more of a reason for people to target you because they
Oh.
think you're scared. I'm not like these people. I don't steal. I don't rob. I don't kill people. I don't fight people.
Oh, you better than
I
everybody
get told by
else.
so many
I
people
get
in
it.
here that this isn't the place for me. Inmates and even the guards say this to me, that I shouldn't be in here.
They
No.
gonna stay in. They got 12 hours, 8
My
hours
family
for
has
this
spent
shift.
too much money trying to get me out of jail.
Not
No
happening.
one wants me in here, Judge. I
No,
know
I want
I
you
made a
there, sir.
mistake, but I'm a good person and I deserve
nah.
a second chance. I just beg of you to please consider my plea
No.
for a low split probation sentence. I believe that I'll be a good force on the world if you just give me the chance.
Nah, I think I'll take a chance with.
I know it in my heart I'll be. In my dad's memory, I have to be. I'm his son. And if I'm not even a shred like him, I'm a disgrace of a son. I didn't even, if I'm not like him, I didn't learn from what he did. So please just grant me this sentence, grant me probation, grant me a low sentence. I don't want to spend my life in prison. I'm not a bad person, I promise you. Just, thank you for taking the time to listen to me.
Thank you. God, it's over. Please. It's over.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Chuong, for sharing that.
Get him. Get him, Judge.
Ms. Willingham, do you have anything else to add? All right, let me a few thoughts, Mr. Chuong, and we've been able to spend some time together this past week. And, the first thing I would say is that this is also something that I'm not going to forget. And this is something that I take very seriously, and it's the hardest thing that I have to do. And it's not something I'm going to just flippantly throw out a number and call it a day and move on. And so this has been something I've had to think about quite a bit. I'll start off saying that I don't think the state's recommendation is the appropriate one, where we throw everything at you and bury you under the jail for a couple of reasons. Throughout this process, especially since you decided to represent yourself, I've been able to engage with you quite a bit. I think it's very clear, and everyone here would agree that you're intelligent, that you're educated. You've been respectful this entire time. And again, I think why this case has been so out of the ordinary is because it doesn't fit into the mold and the box that we seek so often. You don't have any criminal history. I'm not hearing from, the family members most affected by this, by your mother and brother, and they're not clamoring for justice. And again, for me to throw everything the law could put at you, I think that makes a difference. I think even though and we'll talk about this in a second, even though I'm not hearing a full admission from you, the fact that you decided and the state allowed for you to enter a guilty plea, it weighs into this. The state decided and recognized the most serious charges, and by their pretrial offer acknowledged that there's some ambiguity in this case, that again, it doesn't really fit within clear lines. So, I do agree with you that you should have the opportunity to start over one day, and that you shouldn't spend the rest of your life in prison. But I think where we disagree is that I don't think that can happen until you've really paid the full debt for what you've done. And I want to give you the chance to prove that to the parole board, that you're ready for that. But on the other side of the ledger, the crimes that you admitted to doing, which is what a guilty plea is, even though you still can't bring yourself to say it today, are absolutely brutal. And when it comes to a stabbing, especially, it's
That's right. Go ahead.
a thing that requires determination
Mm-hmm.
and commitment.
Yes.
And to me, the evidence didn't leave me with much doubt of who was responsible for everything in that house that evening.
Mm-hmm.
And although I didn't get the full story, um, I, I still I get this sense throughout the process that there's just a lack of full awareness on your part of the situation you're in.
Mm-hmm.
And I think part of you still thinks that you could walk right out of here having, gotten a time served sentence. And that,
It's not happening.
again, I think that shows a full awareness of what has happened. The purpose ultimately is, again, a sentence has to recognize the severity of what's happened. And when I'm keeping in mind the whole purpose of this is punishment is part of it, rehabilitation is part of it, and deterrence is part of it. And a low sentence, I don't think is going to further any of those three goals. And I don't feel as if you've really fully come to terms about what happened that night. And that doesn't mean you're evil. That doesn't mean that this is what has to define you for the rest of your life. But there does have to be some accountability. And, a low sentence doesn't answer that. But I do hope that you are able to achieve these things that you want. And I still think you can be able to once you're out. And you'll get out one day. And that could be sooner than later, again, if you're able to convince the parole board. And I don't think that this is going to be the end of the road for you. And I still think that you have promise. So with that, after considering kind of the totality of the circumstances, the purposes and all the aspects and aggravation and mitigation and what we're doing here as a sentence, on the counts you've pled guilty to, which would be 3 through 10, I'll sentence you as follows. On count 3, aggravated assault, the sentence would be 20 years to serve. Count 4 would be 20 years, it would merge. Count 5 would be 20 years to serve concurrent to count 3. Count 6 would be 20 years to serve concurrent to count 3. Count 7 merges. Count 8,
years.
the aggravated battery, would be 20 years probation consecutive to count 10. Count 9 is 12 months to serve concurrent to count 3. And count 10 would be 5 years to serve.
That's consecutive.
Consecutive to count 3.
30
and
years.
So the total sentence would be 40 years to serve 25 years with the balance on probation.
Okay.
The special conditions would be that you're not to possess any weapons, that you're to have no violent contact with the listed victims in this case, and that you're not to consume any drugs or alcohol.
25 to serve.
As this will include and contemplates a term of felony probation for any technical violations. Once you're released and on felony probation, it'll fall under the sentencing options system with a sanctions cap of PDC or RSAT. Ms. Willingham, is there anything else you believe needs to be reflected on the record or as part of this sentence?
Judge, just one thing I wanted to clarify, it might have been, I heard wrong. Did you say that count 3 merging?
I said count 4 and count 7 merge.
I just wanted to make sure that was correct.
All right. And do we want to clarify, we believe count 4 merges into count 3 and count 7 merges into count 6?
Count 4 merges into count 6.
Okay.
Count 7 merges into count 8.
To count 8. All right. 1 and 2 were dismissed by motion of the state, so those are null pros. Anything else, Ms. Willingham? All right, Mr. Chuong, I wish you the best of luck. All right, we're off the record.
$25 years. He would have to serve 25 years, 15 years on parole probation. 25 years. He got a sweet deal, ladies and gentlemen. The judge gave him a sweet deal. I mean, he was facing a heck of a lot of time. And I didn't think the judge was going to throw the book at him. Um, but I did think it was a problem that he didn't admit to killing his father, which obviously is a part of taking responsibility. Um, what do you guys think? What do you think? This was a whew, the prosecution wanted 86 years. The judge wasn't given 86 years. So I don't know. He said a lot. Said a lot. Now, I don't know if it's a scratch on the surface, but I would be concerned with him coming out early. 25 years, all the things he said he's endured while he was waiting to go to trial, he's still going to endure that stuff, and they're still going to try him. And he likely is going to have to click up or get in the gang to survive in there. He may not even be able to survive in there. I don't know. I don't know. But 25 years is a far lower sentence than the 86 that the state wanted. And they wanted consecutive. The judge merged. He gave him the one aggravated assault is actually 25 years. He merged all that in. The aggravated assault is 25. Now, what people don't realize is he won't have to do the 25. He's actually going to do less than that. But he's still going to get out when he's over 40. He's going to get out when he's over 40. Ladies and gentlemen, yeah. This is the conclusion of the coverage of the state of Georgia versus Austin Chuong. I appreciate you guys being here. This is a very interesting case that will probably be studied, and it was very hard for this judge. Judge McAfee is running for re-election, and his opponent has he has an opponent as of yesterday. I still like this judge, and I will probably endorse him as well. I know people are like, what? Yeah, I would probably endorse this judge because he's, he doesn't give me the impression that he doesn't have compassion. Some judges just ready to throw you away, discard you like trash. There's obvious reasons why this judge didn't go with the high number. One, didn't hear from the mother nor the brother. I don't even know why the brother wasn't even mentioned much with this guy Austin Chung. But there's something else is missing here. I don't know if anyone else feels like that. It's something missing here. But we'll see. The judge believes that the evidence was very damning, and but he's also recognized that this guy hasn't accepted responsibility. So let's see how this thing plays out. Leave a comment on the in the comment section. Let me know what you guys think. Pretty hard case to cover, but we covered it. And we'll do a write up on it as well. And let's see what one thing. Hold before I leave. You notice the attorney, the shadow attorney, never showed up. He wasn't sitting beside him for this. And what I was told that he actually got fired, but he had to sit by his side as per the judge's request. So I don't know how it's going to work out. I don't know how it's going to work out, but I'm sure by now he knows what the outcome of the decision is. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, I do appreciate you joining in. It's been an interesting situation here covering this case, but we'll talk about it at a later date if you guys choose to want to have another conversation about it. With that said, ladies and gentlemen, I'm out. Peace.